Notice that the eccentric types do that. I'm eccentric myself at some levels, but you're now basically prostituting people to worship the women over there. But that's fine. I hope people buy you some cookies. Max Kaiser, we'll see you again in a few weeks. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Alex.
You bet. Take care. Maybe there's Russian spies over there. No, I'm being sarcastic. Okay, let's get serious. Let's go to Bob Chapman, who had the biggest newsletter in the financial newsletter in the world till he retired more than a decade ago. Of course, the biggest private silver and gold broker. He's lived all over the world, South Africa, France, Germany, you name it. You know, during the break, we forgot to get the plug. Max was telling me how for decades he's been reading what Bob Chapman has to say. So there's another nomination for Bob as being one of the best experts and trend forecasters out there, especially on the markets. So we have a lot to talk about with him today, with the dollar plunge after UN call to ditch greenback and a lot more. But first, Bob, you heard me before Kaiser precipitated on cookies again, that you know, my take on these Russian sex operatives, sleeper sex operatives is what I would call them, and the fact that they're trying to relaunch a new Cold War on the back of this. But more interestingly, that you see the Russians trying to infiltrate the gold and silver market to try to find out what's happening in New York, because they're big buyers, because they know it's rigged, and also infiltrating Harvard and Facebook-style systems. I mean, that's really where the real black ops are going on. Or do you disagree, Bob Chapman?
Well, it's certainly on the ground and a type of counterintelligence, and you are very, very right in saying that is real spying. And you're right. Everything else is usually done by satellite today. And one of the complaints about the good guys inside the CIA is we didn't do any of that anymore, or we're not doing much of that anymore. And that's where the action is. And so the Russians have done it, and they've done it over and over again, and they're really good at it. I mean, people in America discount the abilities of people in other countries. The Russians are very bright people. I know I worked against them. And so it's not surprising they have such units within the United States, and they probably are guilty. But I think in your conversation with Max, the timing is very important. This has been a well-planned takedown and furtherance operation, perhaps because of the wearing out of the terrorism label, and maybe we got to find some no bogeyman, who in this case would be the Russians again. And yes, the Russians have been buying gold for a long time, and they're expediting their purchases. And we've covered all this in the International Forecaster. But I think, and I'm only guessing, that the Russians are monitoring, yes, I'll get it out, monitoring several publications. Mine's one of them, and Gather is another one. And they attended a very high Russian official from the finance division of the Russian government back about 8 years ago, attended one of Gather's meetings in Alaska. If I'm not mistaken, that's the location. And they got filled in, and they saw the direction that things would eventually have to go and knew they had to accumulate. And they knew from attending that meeting and reading their stuff as well as mine that the markets are being rigged, and they wanted to be able to take advantage of it. In other words, like we'll take just recently, gold was taken down $35 or $40 in one day. And if they can know something like that ahead of time, they can go short, and then, like today, cover their short and go long as well. And so they are heavily playing the gold market, and they have even when it was the Soviet Union.
Well, remember Dr. Titania Karajnia, what was it, about 8 years ago, one of their chief finance ministers, one of their chief think tank people, came out and said there's a $300 trillion group. They're the Illuminati. They call themselves the Deadhead Group, which translates into the English to Skull and Bones, the Skull and Crossbones, the Deadhead. and that they are planning to sell derivatives and destroy the world economy. I mean, that was in Newsmax, WorldNet Daily, Infowars.com. Rick Wiles covered it 8-9 years ago. And, I mean, I just forget how right we've all been about what these people were planning. And shifting gears, what does this signify, Bob? Because it's old news for our listeners and our audience and people that read your International Forecaster newsletter. But what does it signify to now have the UN, CNN, ABC News, AP, Reuters, all announce Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday today? It's made national news. Our story is one of the top stories on Drudge. Dollar plunges after UN call to ditch greenback. All of this is happening. And so what does it signify that they're coming out and saying, okay, all the currencies are going to stay, but they're going to be devalued, and a private group of banks is going to run it, and it's going to be world government, as Herman von Rompuy said last November, the head of the EU, and you will now pay your carbon taxes to us, and we will have a new SDR over the whole globe. I mean, this is a private group of bankers that have created the fraud, openly announcing the takeover of our currency. This is the highest form of economic takeover, and everyone involved in the government is guilty of high treason.
And that's absolutely so. It doesn't mean they're going to be successful in doing what they're doing. They're having to expedite their program for the very reasons that you and I have discussed over and over again, and that is we're letting people know exactly what they're doing, how they're doing it, and what they expect as a final product. I think that you have to look at the directions that they've gone in recently. I think Greece blew up in their face, and they still may very well lose, they being the Illuminists, the services of Papandreou, because I keep on drilling them over there to get rid of them. And maybe that will have an effect. But that's what they need to do, and they need to default, get out of the euro, go to the drachma, and also cut expenses in government by 30%.
Yeah, for those that don't know, explain to them that Goldman Sachs has its officials that 10 years ago set Greece up, now actually running the takeover and the handover of 600 islands.
That's correct. And, of course, the puppet master in this game is not only Goldman Sachs, but the Bilderberger Papandreou. And I told him, I said, if you have, they just did another documentary. I don't think it's been released yet. But I told him, I said, if you can impeach him, however you do it, get rid of him. And you don't want to let any of your islands go for 20 or 30 cents on the dollar to a group of Illuminists.
Well, I mean, literally, they swindle them selling them these derivatives, and then the country is selling the islands to the heads of the brokerage firms by name that set them up. I mean, they should be calling for these people's arrest, not giving them their islands and their highways.
Hi, this is Alex Jones. Did you know that the global elite are now storing non-hybrid seeds in secret storage vaults near the Arctic Circle? Did you know that in a real meltdown, non-hybrid seeds can become more valuable than silver or gold? It's true, seeds have outperformed even gold and silver before in this country, and it's possible that could even happen again. So our friends at Solutions from Science have put together the perfect mix of non-hybrid seeds. They call it a survival seed bank, and it can produce an endless supply of nutrient-dense food for you and your family. And here's the best part. These seeds have not been genetically modified in any way, and you actually get enough seeds to plant a full-acre crisis garden. So visit them today at survivalseedbank.com. That's survivalseedbank.com, or give them a call at 877-327-0365. That's 877-327-0365. Remember, in a real crisis, non-hybrid seeds are the ultimate barter item. This is Alex Jones for survivalseedbank.com. The Fall of America and the Western World is an all-new 10-hour documentary and survival guide rolled into one. In this film, you will see the reasons why our government is failing and what you can do to prepare. Featuring Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, Joseph Farah, David Icke, Naomi Wolf, G. Edward Griffin, Doug McIntyre, Mark Crispin Miller, Mickey Z, Doug Casey, David McElvaney, and myself, Alex Jones. Protect yourself and get the tools you need to protect your family from these difficult times. the fall of America and the Western world at www.thefallofamerica.net or click on the banners at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. Again, that website's www.thefallofamerica.net or call 800-655-1577. Prepare yourself and the ones you love today. Fallofamerica.net.
Originally, we the people have entrusted government to be the guardians of currency, to ensure purity, content, weights, and measures of gold and silver coins citizens would use for commerce. This reinstalled confidence after the demise of the fiat continental system, wisdom being lost with time. The government we once entrusted to protect from counterfeit has colluded with private business, creating the largest fiat counterfeiting scheme our country ever experienced. This is not only a transfer of power to an institution that is not accountable to our elected government, but has also caused the dollar to lose more than 90 cents of its original value. Now foreign governments are trying to divest themselves from this once world reserve currency. Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I'm offering a book that explains how the system works. Call me today at 800-686-2237. I will give you a silver dollar free.